Greetings, y'all. Let's talk about window coverings. There are about as many ways to be a nomad as there are people, and depending on the way you like to camp, you're going to need a wardrobe of window coverings. I prefer to have a blend of doing some boondocking, especially in the winter, taking advantage of public land out in the Southwest. And then when I'm on crazy jaunts like the middle of this East Coast tour, I do a lot of stealth parking. I like to play the game and I like to be successful at it. Part of the reason that I have never gotten a knock is that I blend in really well in my white SUV, of which there are millions of various makes and models. And I do the window covering thing right. By that I mean you need to cover your windows enough so if you are going to have lights on inside, they will not show through. And you're also going to need to have some mitigation of heat and cold. There are various circumstances and needs for window coverings depending on what kind of stealth parking you're going to do. And I will walk you through that wardrobe or that repertoire or that quiver full of solutions depending on what kind of camping and parking you're gonna do. I have gone through, I would hate to tally up how much I've spent on window coverings. In the beginning I did the do-it-yourself and regret that. I wish I would have just gone to WeatherTech immediately and purchased their set that goes with any make and model of any vehicle that you have, and it does a pretty good job of actually covering the real estate of the glass. There's always a few corners that don't get covered, but there's ways to make that happen. One of the reasons that I regret investing in the DIY version of window coverings is because when you do spend a lot of time out in the Southwest and there is heat, the glue that you use is not going to hold. So you're going to have to come up with a solution and replace them. Part of why I choose what I choose for my window coverings involves blocking light, because as an INFJ and an HSP, I can't sleep when I see slivers of light at the various points in my windows. That's something that I've learned to accept over time, as there's nothing I can do about my nervous system. So I've come up with those solutions. The first kind of stealth parking that I do, and that represents the majority of the time, is somewhere in the middle of a city in a parking lot, like a hospital or a Cracker Barrel or that kind of thing. And I want to be as inobtrusive as possible. So I found a way to block light from coming in from behind these seats, the front driver's seat and passenger seat, blocking light completely into the rest of the car and leaving the front seats open and visible. So I'm not drawing attention to that, oh, is somebody in there, by having something in my windshield. No, I leave that open. The WeatherTech window coverings that I do have, they do block most of the light. There are, however, slivers that get through, especially if you're in a parking lot under some really, really bright safety lights or whatever they call them. That makes it possible for you to have your light on inside the car and do whatever you need to do and not be detected. But when you're trying to sleep, somebody like me, it's not very good. At first, I used fleece from Walmart, but it's very thin and didn't do the job. So on this trip, driving through Hendersonville, I believe, North Carolina, I saw a foam and fabric store and instantly pulled over. Actually replaced the foam for my mattress that I'm sleeping on, went from 4 inches to 5, love it. They also had beautiful bolts of fleece that you couldn't see through. So I bought 2 yards of that and started replacing what I had already hung up into my car to something that would actually work. This new system works really, really well. I used some of the old Walmart fleece to fill in places that I needed to, but the larger sections of the heavier fleece made a very nice doorway between my front seats and the back, which is where I climb through when I need to. Sometimes I'll just use the door like a regular person. What makes this solution especially possible are the pins that I use to hang the fleece into the fabric sections of the ceiling in my car. They are called magic pins, and because of the double tine, they hold the fabric a lot more securely than a single tine might. There's a layer that's permanently pinned that I never move. When I unroll them to use them at night, I'll put those pins in the fabric of the car ceiling, and in the morning roll them back up and replace those pins. I've also found that using the fleece helps insulate my car when it's cold, and I'm quite toasty in here overnight. I'm really happy with this system and looking forward to more nights of better sleep because of it. Something that I purchased on Amazon a couple years ago is a shell that you can put on the middle door that allows you to completely roll down your window, and the shell has a layer of netting for bugs and also a layer to zip all the way up in case it rains. It's definitely not doable for any torrential rain or anything over a gentle rain, because it's going to start channeling into your car. It's just going to act as a wick for that moisture. I've used this in a parking lot in a Cracker Barrel because of the way I was parking. That door was away from everybody else, and I could leave that on overnight and allow that ventilation, which is also very important. I also have some window pantyhose that fit over the frame of your door, and that allows you to roll down the windows as much as you want, completely if you want, and supposedly not let bugs in. I'm not sure that that's completely the case just because of how they're constructed, but they do a pretty good job. And when I'm in a park for the day, I'll pull those out and put them on. The only thing is that because of the mesh being so tight to not let bugs in, it also doesn't let a lot of air in. So if it's hot, then you've got another thing to solve. In terms of keeping heat out, if at all possible on your windshield, it's best to cover that from the outside to stop the heat from accumulating on the inside in the first place. I'll use this, especially boondocking, because obviously nobody cares if you put stuff on your windshield on the outside. I have put it on in a parking lot a few times. The best solution is, of course, to follow the weather and not be someplace that it's going to be that hot. I hope some of this is helpful to you when you're deciding what you're going to use. And actually, the best way to find that out is to just get out there on the road and try something and tweak it later if you need to. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you down the road. Bye.